Blessed be the King, Yehoshua. Thanking the Most High God for this day. Thanking the Most High God for all of you. And let's try to get into this. Trying to bring up my notes, but something is happening with the internet in here. It's not loading up, so use it from my phone. So, how's everyone? Everybody's good? Thanking the Most High God for this blessed day. You know, I come up here every year and I speak about Hanukkah, and after a while it's the same lesson. It's really nothing. You try to add certain things here and there, but it's basically the same lesson. So the spirit and the spirit of Hanukkah is really that we were not allowed to celebrate the holy seasons during this time. So when you see Hanukkah has an 8-day celebration that they give us, a menorah with 8 candle stems. Mm-hmm. That comes from, I'm going to explain, I'm going to get to it. So because they couldn't celebrate Sukkot and Shemini Atzeret, when Hanukkah came was around this time, it was, the 7th month had already passed. But they were so happy that when they rededicated the temple, mainly the altar, they celebrated Sukkot with Shemini Atzeret, thus 8 days. So that's where they get it from. So, you know, they have fairy tales with it, that they found 1 cruse of oil that would go into the menorah and it lasted past the amount of time that was for 1 day or whatever. That's like the writings that come after. In the actual story in the Maccabees, you don't find that in there. Where they said they found a cruse of oil and it burned for past the time that it was supposed to burn for. Right. No menorah in our history of the temple, the tabernacle, has 8 stems. Right. All menorahs that we see, even, and I'm doing the stuff that I laugh at people at, some menorahs. But any menorah that you see would always have 7 stems, because that was the appropriate menorah that was designated for the temple or for the tabernacle. It always has a 7-stem menorah. So those are the first things. We got to understand in this time, during this time in history, what was really happening. They were trying to get us away from, a lack of a better word, our religion, our way of life. So the thing about Alexander the Great was, what made him such a great conqueror was, when he came to the gates of your city, if you surrendered and you paid tributary to him, or tribute to him, he let you continue in your way of life. He will allow you to continue in your religion. He will allow you to continue to worship your God. That's why he was able to conquer so much in such a short period of time, because Alexander really lived from, he conquered from age 20 to 32, then he died. But he conquered such a vast space from Europe to parts of Africa, all the way out into the East Indian River. He was trying to cross over to go into China, and his soldiers said, "No more, Alexander, we tired. We want to go home," you know. But in his journeys, he allowed people to continue in their religion. He understood that happy people and people who feel like they still have their God pay better. You have less of a struggle with them. What begins to happen is, after Alexander dies, his generals split up the kingdom into 4 parts. They later, two of the parts become most dominant. The Seleucid Empire and the Ptolemaic Empire. Ptolemies were in Egypt. The Seleucid was like what we know today as the Middle East, parts of Babylon, all the way out into India. So there was a man by the name of Antiochus Epiphanes. His name actually means God manifest. He would come along, and he didn't have the same idea that Alexander had. He wanted everyone to be Hellenized. So what does being Hellenized mean? He wants everyone to be Greek. If you go to Greece, they don't call themselves Greeks. They call themselves Helen or Helos. That's what they call themselves. That's what they call their actual land. When you go to Germany, they don't call that land, the Germans don't call that land Germany. They call it Deutschland. If you go to, no German will call their land Germany. They call it Deutschland. That's actually the name. The other names are names that were given to them, and they just roll with it because the world knows it as that. But if you ever look like like when they playing basketball, like world teams, and on the German jersey, you will never see Germany unless an English person made that jersey. You will see that they will put on their jersey Deutschland, and with the Greeks they'll put like Halos or something. So that's where we get the word Hellenized, because that's the way that they understood and they knew their land to be, right? So that was when Antiochus came. He wanted us all to become Greek. So what started happening is that Israelites, not only Israelites, because during this time we also had Samaritans that were living in the northern kingdom. That was during the Assyrian invasion, where they took out the 10 tribes out of Israel, a lot of the 10 tribes, and they brought foreigners to live in the northern kingdom. So these people adopted our lifestyle, our way of life, and they began to live as Israelites, right? So the southern kingdom, it was a little bit later. The southern kingdom, Babylonians came, took us into exile. We came back, we rebuilt the temple, Solomon's temple, the second time. Now this time that we're talking about, these Antiochus comes and he desecrates the temple. He begins to make offerings of swine's flesh on the altar. He erects a statue of Zeus, which is the chief god of the Greeks, in the temple ground. And they begin to have all of these, they begin to build gymnasiums. Gymnasiums in Greece, what we know as Greece, were a place of exercise and also like what we call building. Intellectuals would come and talk, but it was only a place where men would come and they would exercise in the naked and the nude. You know, the actual word for gymnasium means to work out in the nude, to be in the nude. The actual breakdown of the word, if you look at the etymology of the word, that's what it means. So we begin to adapt the ways of and the customs of the people. But in that, you know, you have people that want to keep it the way that they've been keeping it. They don't want to conform to the ways of the actual heathens. So some people moved away. They moved away. They go, you know, and in the midst of all this that's going on, you have women. If they found women that had circumcised their children, what they would do is on the walls of Jerusalem, they will hold the women down, take their babies that they circumcised, hang the babies off the women's necks, break the baby's necks. The mothers see the baby dead, but she's constrained, can't do anything like to hold them. She's constrained. She watched the baby cry for the last time, break his neck. And then after they made her see that, they would throw her over the wall for her to die with the baby around her neck. So this is the savage people that we were around. So a lot of people got scared. They ran into caves. They ran up into the mountains. Some of them went into a place called Modim. And that's where we're going to pick up part of the story from the book of 1 Maccabees chapter chapter 2. Yeah, chapter 2, verse 1.
We're in the book of 1 Maccabees, chapter 2, verse 1. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
In those days, Mattathias, son of John, son of Shimon, a priest of the family of Yoari, moved from Jerusalem and settled in Modin. He had 5 sons: John, surnamed Gadi, Simon called Tasi, Judas called Maccabeus, Eleazar called Avaran, and Jonathan called Aphis. He saw the blasphemies being committed in Yehuda and Jerusalem and said, Alas, why was I born to see this? The ruin of my people, the ruin of the holy city, and to live there when it was given over to the enemy, the sanctuary given over to aliens.
He said, why was I born during this time? Why was I born to see the desecration of the temple and aliens take over the holy city of Jerusalem and take over God's holy temple? Let's go.
Her temple has become like a person without honor. Her glorious vessels have been carried into exile. Her infants have been killed in her streets, her youths by the swords of the foe. What nation has not inherited her palaces and has not seized her spoils? Or her adornment has been taken away. No longer free, she has become a slave.
She has become a slave. We become a slave to not only the people that came and overtook us, but we also became slaves to their way of life, to their way of life, to their gods, to their religion, and we began to partake in it willingly. Not forcibly, willingly. We begin to, after a while, we begin to participate in these religions. Like we do today.
Right.
We willingly participate in the slave master's religion to the point now that our children are born, baptized, and we do all that because that's all we know. So that's the same thing that was happening back then. Let's go.
And see, our holy place, our beauty, and our glory have been laid waste. The Gentiles have profaned them. Why should we live any longer?
Why should we live? Why should we live any longer and see this atrocity? You know, you get to a point when a person gets like, why, why should I live to carry on to see this destruction and this actual disaster? Right? Because you go like from a time when you're living where everything is good, and then all of a sudden everything goes corrupt. Like he's actually living through these times. Let us go.
Then Mattathias and his sons tore their clothes, put on sackcloth, and mourned greatly.
They mourned greatly. That means they were trying to get closer to the Creator, because we know that afflicting the soul, you fast, it gets you closer to the Creator. Let's go.
The king's officers who were enforcing the apostasy came to the town of Modin to make them offer sacrifice.
They were forcing the apostasy. Apostasy means when someone is trying to make you to change your religion to their religion. They forcing you, they forcibly changing your way of life to their way of life. Let us go.
Many from Yisrael came to them, and Mattathias and his sons were assembled. Then the king's officers spoke to Mattathias as follows. You are a leader, honored and great in this town, and supported by sons and brothers. Now be the first to come and do what the king commands, as all the Gentiles and the people of Yehuda and those that are left in Jerusalem have done. Then you and your sons will be numbered among the friends of the king, and you and your sons will be honored with silver and gold and many gifts. But Mattathias answered and said in a loud voice, even if all the nations that live under the rule of the king obey him, and have chosen to obey his commandments, every one of them abandoning the religion of their ancestors, I and my sons and my brothers will continue to live by the covenant of our ancestors.
Said, I don't care what the king wants to offer. Right. He wants to offer $1 million, $2 million. Said me, he spoke for everyone. He said, me and everyone that's here, we're going to keep the commandments of the Most High God. Right. We don't care what you have to say. Right. We're going to keep this. I don't care what you offer us. We could sit at the table with the king. It doesn't matter to us. This is what matters to us, that we keep these laws, statutes, and commandments. Let us go.
Far be it from us to desert the law and the ordinances. We will not obey the king's words by turning aside from our religion to the right hand or to the left. When he had finished speaking these words, a Hebrew came forward in the sight of all to offer sacrifice on the altar in Modim, according to the king's command. When Mattathias saw it, he burned with zeal and his heart was stirred.
So he's in the midst of the people. Right. He's the elder. Why did they come to him? Because you're an elder. You have influence. If you follow everyone, it makes it easy for us. Right. So he spoke all these heartfelt words, and you get one sellout, one NIGGA, to break the ranks and say, I'm going to do what I want to do.
Right.
This old man don't speak for me. He can't do anything to me, and I'm going to go and offer up this desecrated basar on this altar to the god Zeus. And what happens?
He gave vent to righteous anger.
Uh-huh.
He ran and killed him on the altar.
He ran and killed them on the altar. He said he gave vent to righteous anger. It said anger resteth in the bosom of a fool, but at this time it was called a righteous anger. Why? Because they were desecrating the altar that was dedicated to the Creator. Let us go.
At the same time, he killed the king's officer who was forcing them to sacrifice, and he tore down the altar. Thus he burned with zeal for the Lord, just as Pinchas did against Zimri, son of Salu.
You said compared it to what Pinchas did to Zimri, son of Salu, because it was at a point where the plague had gone forth in the midst of the people.
Right.
And here comes Zimri with the woman into his tent, and Pinchas was sitting in the midst of Moses, Aaron, and everyone. They watching all these people die, and he want to freak off.
Right.
You know what I mean? He want to be in the Puff Daddy party. You know what I mean? He want to be in that party. I should have never mentioned that name, because they're gonna cut me up and put me all in a video. But that's what they want. That's what he want to be. You know, that's what they want to be. They want to be in that situation. They want to be in that mode, and Pinchas was having none of it.
Right.
So therefore, now during this time, the old man went up there and killed them. He made a decision for everyone that was there.
Right.
Because sometimes you just have to do that. Sometimes righteousness and judgment don't take a million people. When you see wrong, you just got to execute it.
That's it.
That's what righteousness means. That sometimes it's not going to be the popular opinion at the time.
Right.
But it has to be executed. And this is what Mattathias did at this time. Let us go.
Then Mattathias cried out in the town with a loud voice, saying, let everyone who is zealous for the law and supports the covenant come out with me. Then he and his sons fled to the hills and left all that they had in the town.
They had to leave at a moment because they just killed the king's officer. You can't stick around.
That's right.
I mean, wisdom has to kick in, you know.
Yeah.
When you do something, you got to get up and get out. You got to, listen, wipe down the evidence. We got to get out of here. Okay. Wipe it down. Get the DNA. Get some Clorox. Get the place wiped down, because we got to get out. They didn't even have time for that. They just had to get up and go. Whatever they could grab, just go. Let us go.
At that time, many who were seeking righteousness and justice went down to the wilderness to live there. They, their sons, their wives, and their livestock, because troubles pressed heavily upon them. And it was reported to the king's officers and to the troops in Jerusalem, the city of David, that those who had rejected the king's command had gone down to the hiding places in the wilderness.
They went up in the wilderness, in the mountains, in the caves, because they didn't want to be a part of that pollution. They didn't want to be a part of unrighteousness. So what do you do when you don't want to be a part of it? You separate yourself. Even in the Tanakh, it tells, it says we have to go into the wilderness of the people, because when God begins to judge this place, we can't be in the midst of them. Because if we're in the midst of them, what you think happened to Lot's wife?
Right.
Angel said, come on, let's go. Don't look back. Keep going.
Right.
Don't look back. Keep going. Keep going. What did she do?
Look back.
She looked back, and she got left there as a monument to all unbelieving souls. An example that when God tells us to do something, that we must follow. So we're going to have to separate ourselves, just like these people did, because there was too much going on. Because what happens is you become accustomed to it. After a while, listen, back in the days, they will not show you a woman in a bra on TV. And now women jog with a bra and short shorts. Our eyes are accustomed to it. Before, it was not like that. A woman couldn't go out there, you know, jogging in a bra, because that's what it is, a bra. Yeah, sports bra. All it took is one woman. the soccer player, she took off her shirt. She did a celebration. She was in her bra. And then everybody was just in bras. I mean, I'm just saying, I'm just being real. So our eyes get accustomed to things that are before us, and they no longer become taboo or no, everything goes. So you have to separate yourself from that everything go mentality in order to keep some type of sanity for yourself and for your children that are coming behind you. Because if you don't, then everything goes. Your children grow up. Look at your children right now. And when you tell them about certain things, when you talk about the bundles of sticks, right? And you tell them how nasty the bundles of sticks are. Y'all know what bundles of sticks is? All right, some of y'all, just look it up.
What they call cigarettes in overseas.
The bundles of sticks. You know what, in England, do you know what they call a cigarette?
Correct.
She said it, not me. So when the bundles of sticks, you know what I mean? When you start talking to your children about the bundles of sticks, right? Look at their reaction. To them, it's like, oh, come on, Abba, come on, Ima, we live in this society, we got to do this, we got to do that. But when us growing up, we wouldn't look at that and be happy about that. But because we've been programmed to accept it, now it's like it's acceptable. And you're fighting an uphill battle and everything is accepted when it should not be. Let us go.
Verse 32. Many pursued them and overtook them. They encamped opposite them and prepared for battle against them on the Shabbat day. They said to them, enough.
They pursued them on the Shabbat day. Why? Why you think they pursued them on the Shabbat day? Because they said, that's their holy day. Yeah, they vulnerable. They not allowed to do any work on the Shabbat day. And what happened?
They said to them, enough of this. Come out and do what the king's command.
Come out and do what the king commanded. Come do some offerings on this temple, on this altar, and come out and do the king's command. Let's go.
But they said, we will not come out, nor will we do what the king commands. And so profane the Shabbat day.
We will not profane the Shabbat day. Let's go.
Then the enemy quickly attacked them. But they did not answer them or hurl a stone at them or block up their hiding places. For they said, let us all die in our innocence. Heaven and earth testify for us that you are killing us unjustly. So they attacked them on the Shabbat. And they died with their wives and their children and their livestock to the number of 1,000 persons.
1,000 people died that day because they refused to fight on the Shabbat day. May the Most High God bless their memory. But let's see the next line. What Mattathias said.
When Mattathias and his friends learned of it, they mourned for them deeply. And all said to their neighbors, if we all do as our kindred have done and refuse to fight with the Gentiles for our lives and for our ordinances, they will quickly destroy us from the earth. So they made this decision that day. Let us fight against anyone who come to attack us on the Shabbat day. Let us not all die as our kindred died in their hiding places. Because God tell us to use, he said, above all your getting, get what? Understanding. That's right. Somebody smacks you in your face on the Shabbat. I don't care what day of the week is. Right. Somebody put their hands on you, you better defend yourself. That's right. Boy, you better listen. Fight with other. You could pray and you could turn to God, and God, you know what God gonna tell you? Well, best he's gonna say this: better is a living dog than a dead lion. Because God didn't tell us to be fools. Right. We sometimes we take Torah and we distort it. Right. That's not what Torah. God is not telling us not to defend ourselves. God is not telling you that if something is about ready to fall on the Shabbat, not to catch it and stop it. Not telling you that. If the child has an accident on the Shabbat day with the poop pamper, you know what I mean? Because kids do nasty stuff. They take off the poop pamper and they start running around, smear it. You gonna leave the poop all over the house, or you gonna clean it? Because God don't deal in the midst of uncleanness. So. You leave the poop all over the house? Oh, no, it's the Shabbat day. I can't do any work. That's not what God is talking about. Use wisdom. Sewer's backing up into your house on the Shabbat day. What are you going to do?
Those are decisions you got to make. Above all, I get understanding.
Right.
Get some wisdom. That's right. Babies are born on the Shabbat. Am I right or wrong?
That's right.
Babies are circumcised on the Shabbat. Am I right or wrong?
That's right.
Oh, but you know, that's Torah. You got to, but it's wisdom. It says on the 8th day you circumcise. You still got to do some surgery, which is a job,
Right.
to circumcise the child. The woman push the nurse or the what do you call them? The midwife got to go in there. Push. Come on now. Come on, Sarah. Push that baby out, Sarah. Push the baby. Hold on, it's coming out breech. They do what they do. Boy, who was it that was being? Was it Amatia? Asian doctor. She's there, and she telling Aisha, push, come on. Oh, what's happening? Oh, what's happening? Her vitals is going down. I'm looking at her like, if you don't stop, get the vacuum. I'm looking at that woman. I'm like, I'm about ready to go right upside. You talk about vitals is dropping. They ain't never had this problem with none of the. It took the black nurse to come in there and say, all right, now relax. Yeah. Take your time. Just push. Yeah. Come on, you could do it. Breathe. That's what she told her. Breathe. Just push. Help her come out, and boom. This woman, I say, you the doctor, she's the nurse. Who's supposed to be in charge? Talking about vitals dropping and doing all that. Get the vacuum. Like, what the heck is the vacuum? The vacuum? She crying and screaming. I'm over here looking at the doctor like, get the vacuum, what's going on? This wasn't in the contract didn't say that. Torah YAH, let's go.
42. Then there united with them a company of Hasidim, mighty warriors of Yisrael.
Hasidim means like the pious ones. It's like how we call the Hasidic Jews. Hasidic means basically like pious ones. These people were the people that came and got down with Judah Mattathias and his sons, not with Judah, with Mattathias and his sons in order to keep the law. There's always people in the midst of us that want to do Torah, but they waiting to see what you're going to do. When you step up and you show integrity, then they come out and they help you. Say, I've been waiting for someone to take that step. I'm here with you.
That's right.
We're going to do this together. Just like our family online, over 200 people that listen to us on a weekly basis. That's the step that they took with us. They said, we like the way that y'all teach Torah, or we like the style that y'all have. We're going to stick with y'all. This is what we want to be a part of. That's exactly what happened with them. That's exactly what happened. People came and united with them and said, your cause is our cause. Right. Your fight is our fight. And whatever y'all need, we here with y'all. Right. That's right, because people want to do that which is right. People want to do right. Let us go.
And all who became fugitives to escape their troubles joined them and reinforced them. They organized an army and struck down sinners in their anger and renegades in their wrath. The survivors fled to the Gentiles for safety. And Mattathias and his friends went around and tore down the altars.
They went around, they said, look, we in too deep now, so we might as well go all the way. Right. All these churches with these altars and all these places of worship, we tearing them down. Because this is a holy land. Right. You defile it, we're going to purify it again. Let us go.
They forcibly circumcised all the uncircumcised boys that they found within the borders.
It was get down or lay down. It was get down or lay down. So which way you going to have it? You know, in fact, what? You don't have a choice. Bring that boy over here. I said shut up and sit down right there. That's it. Sit down because we're going to circumcise. You have no choice. That boy's supposed to be in the covenant. Bring him over here. Right. Oh, but please, I don't want to. I said shut up, my dear. Come over here. Bring him over here. And let's circumcise him. And that's going to be that. And they forcibly circumcised the boy. Y'all going to keep Torah. Y'all going to keep Torah. You're not going to do what you want to do. Now you have no choice. You have no choice but to roll with us, because you know if these Greeks catch you, that they're going to put them babies on your neck and they're going to kill them.
Right.
So now you got to move with us. Sometimes it gets to that. You got to make people do that which is right. I know in this society they tell us, you know, you got to let them make a choice. And that's how we lose a lot of our children.
Right.
You let them make a choice. You know, they'll come back to it. How you know that? You God? You know, you God? Are we God? At least put up a fight. At least let them know that they're wrong. At least let them see where they're going wrong. And at least make an effort to make them understand that if you go that way, you might be losing a parent. If that's the choice you make, listen, God gave us a choice. But don't come and ask me to drive my car, because I'm afraid now. You know what I mean? You want to drive my car, you might get into an accident. This is my logic. A lot of people might think differently.
Right.
Listen, why you want to come to the house for? Oh, we could talk right out here. Yeah, what's going on? Okay, all right. Oh, you getting married? Okay, that's nice. Love it. I hope that goes good for you. But you're not going to, who you marrying again? Oh, his name is, okay. He said he do Torah, right? No. So that means my grandchildren are going to be in Christmas pictures and all that stuff. That's the reality. That means we going back. That's what we're going backwards to. So you raise your children up as Israelites, but then they go into the world. They meet people outside in the world, and then they go backwards into idolatry. And then they expect you to be there with them in their idolatrous ways to support it and to support those that are, that come out of them. Some people look at it and that's the way I feel. I'm not telling you to do that with your children. Everybody has their own method. I get it. You know what I mean? And I respect it. I would never knock anyone for dealing with their children the way that they do, because everyone has their method. But I'm a little bit more, radical, I guess you would say. And that's the way I feel. Because I look at it this way. If we were in the land, would those children be alive? A rebellious and a stubborn child, would that child be alive? But we don't look at it that way. You know why? Because we always have hopes that they will come back, but they don't always come back. They don't know, especially a child that you raise in this way of life. Like you raise them up. Not talking, if you came midway and your children already it's a little bit different, right? But when you raise them not to follow the ways of the heathen, and they willfully grow up and they follow the way of the heathens, then what do you do about that child? How do we juggle that in our minds? So I know some people think that's my harsh way of thinking, but this is the way I feel. Let's go. Let's go.
Verse 47. They hunted down the arrogant.
That was Mordecai in the next room. Let's go.
They hunted down the arrogant, and the work prospered in their hands. They rescued the law out of the hands of the Gentiles and kings, and they never let the sinner gain the upper hand.
They never let the sinner gain. That means they went around, and if you wasn't doing right, they were executing judgment. That's what they were doing. They never let the sinner get the upper hand. If you're doing wrong, we're going to execute judgment on you right now, right away. You're not getting away with wrong. I want to keep track of time. Let's go.
They rescued the law out of the hands of the Gentiles and kings, and they never let the sinner gain the upper hand. Now the days drew near for Mattathias to die. And he said to his sons, Arrogance and scorn have now become strong. It is a time of ruin and furious anger. Now, my children, show zeal for the Lord.
Show zeal for the Lord. Show zeal for the Lord. Don't be wavering with the Lord. Don't be wavering and have 1 foot in, 1 foot out. See you during the week, no fringes on you. See you during the week, your skirt is so short I could see the sunshine. You don't allow the wrong in the midst of you.
That's right.
You got to stay firm with what's right. Do that which is right, so God may bless you. He's encouraging his sons because he's about ready to die. Be strong and courageous. Don't go for all this stuff that's going on right in the midst of you. Don't allow that to enter you and overtake you and you conform to that. Do that which is right. You have to talk to those, because if you accept them and they're wrong, guess what? You're just as guilty. Not telling you not to love. Don't twist my words. Not telling you not to love your children. But if they're coming around you and you see the wrong and you're not saying anything around it, you're complicit.
That's right.
You have to say something. I'm not telling you not to love your children. We all love our children. But you have to say, when you see wrong, you have to say it's wrong. No matter how many times they come around. So what? They get tired and they don't come around you. That's wrong. You have to voice it. Because maybe, perhaps, God may have mercy. And they might listen one time and they say, you know what Ima Wa'ab is saying is right.
Right.
I've been doing this wrong for too long. And I'm going to come back and I'm going to turn my life. That's right. Let us go.
Remember the deeds of the ancestors, which they did in their generations, and you will receive great honor and an everlasting name. Was not Abraham found faithful when tested, and it was reckoned to him as righteousness?
That's righteousness. When Abraham was tested those 10 times, and he never fell, flying colors, righteousness. So righteous that God said, look unto Sarah, look unto Abraham as your examples.
That's right.
Let's go.
Joseph, in the time of his distress, kept the commandment and became Lord of Egypt. Pinchas, our ancestor, because he was deeply zealous, received the covenant of an everlasting priesthood. Joshua, because he fulfilled the command, became a judge in Yisrael. Caleb, because he testified in the assembly, received an inheritance in the land. David, because he was merciful, inherited the throne of the kingdom forever. Eliyahu, because of great zeal for the Lord, was taken up into heaven. Hananiah, Azariah, and Mishael believed and were saved from the flame. Daniel, because of his innocence, was delivered from the mouth of the lion.
All these men had obstacles before them. All these men were never expected to reach those heights. But because they were loyal to the Creator, they got in those positions. Look at David. Samuel came there and Samuel looked at the first son and said, this got to be the guy. This guy is chiseled. He's tall. He's handsome. And he went through all the lines and said, none of them. He said, don't you have another one, Jesse? He said, I got the runt. He's in the field, but he with the cattle and the animal. He said, well, I can't leave until I pour this oil on the one it belongs on. And it was David.
Right.
God was training David as a shepherd in order to lead the nation of people. So he had to learn how to tend over the flock. The unassuming person always is the one that gets up there. Moses stuttered. He's like, but Lord, I'm slow of speech. God said, who made the mouth? Who made the lips? He said, since you feel that way, I'm going to send you Aaron, your brother. I know he's a wordsmith. So you're going to be in my stead, and he's going to be your prophet. But by the time you see Moses keeps confronting Pharaoh, what happens? No more is Aaron there. It's Moses talking. He got over that speech impediment. The most unassuming people. Joshua. Nobody knew Joshua was going to be the guy that was going to be next in line, because you would assume that, Moses brother and his sons were the priests of the nation. So naturally, you're going to think, well, Moses, his sons are going to be the ones that are going to carry on the lineage. God don't look at it that way. He said, no. Put Joshua. He's equipped. Not Gershom and who was the other one? Merari? No, is it Gershom? No, Gershom and who? Whatever his sons' names were. Eliezer? Yeah. So it wasn't them. It was Joshua. Joshua was the next one. Why? Because Joshua, he fit the job. So these men are men that you didn't expect them to be in that position. Joseph was sold into captivity. He came from the dungeons of hell, as they would say, and worked his way up to become viceroy in Egypt. So the Most High God will put you in some positions, but it's up to your perseverance whether or not you're going to make through it. You got to have that perseverance. People say all types of stuff about you. He's not going to make it. She's not going to make it. They not equipped. They not tough enough. God give you the tough skin to make it through any weather.
That's right.
And then you come out on the other side good. Weather tested. Season tested. The cold don't bother you. The heat don't bother you. Nothing that they put before you bother you. And you become the right person for the job. Why? Because the Most High God put you through it. Let's go.
And so observe from generation to generation that none of those who put their trust in him will lack strength. Do not fear the words of sinners, for their splendor will turn into dung and worms. Today they will be exalted, but tomorrow they will not be found, because they will have returned to the dust, and their plans will have perished.
It says here, today they will exalt it. Where's that?
Verse 60.
And so observe from generation to generation that none of those who put their trust in him will lack strength. Who is the him? Yehovah. You won't lack strength. Put your trust in Yah. Won't lack strength. They were a living testament at that point to show you that they put their trust in Yehovah at that time against one of the biggest armies.
That's right.
And the Most High God gave them the strength. Let's go.
My children, be courageous and grow strong in the Lord, for by it you will gain honor.
You will gain honor by keeping the laws. Gain honor by keeping laws. I came into this way of life by a friend brought me around the corner. 13 years old. I didn't have a father in this way of life. I didn't have my mother wasn't in this way of life. Just people that I met. Just people that I met. But what kept me in this says, my children, be courageous and grow strong in the Lord, for by it you will gain honor. Never wavered. From 13. You know how tough that is for a 13-year-old that experienced Christmas? I experienced Christmas like staying up to midnight and waiting for the gifts, and your uncle and your aunts and everybody bought you gifts, and that first Christmas is tough because they still bought you the gifts because they didn't believe that you were that strong. Or they didn't believe that you were really into this because you're young. You know, young people, they get into things and they get out of it. So we're going to test them. We're going to put the presents underneath the tree and see whether or not he is really tough and he's going to uphold this way of life. And that was tough. But I had to say no. I had to say thanks, but no thanks. I cannot accept that. Come on, man. I'm 13 years old. I think I turned 14 that year. So I had to say thanks, but no thanks. And leave I don't even know what happened to those presents, but they knew the next year they wasn't going to waste their money on me. Right? But you had to persevere, and there were stages. There were stages. Thank God that I had a good mother that realized that I was trying to seek God, and she supported me. Because you had people that their mother said, listen, we have pork chops and greens. Either you're going to eat or you're not. I don't know how you're going to eat because we don't got enough money to cook for everybody, for you separately. My mom just went and changed. All right, you can't eat that anymore? All right, we're going to make chicken. We're going to make, some beef. We're going to make this. We're going to make that. We're going to always have some salmon on the cupboards for you, just in case I want to have shrimp or I want to have something you can't have. I'm going to cook you something in a separate pot for you to have. Talk about y'all for my mother. Who 70 years last week we celebrated. She sent out her love and thanks to everyone here that came out. I couldn't invite everyone because there was limited seating. So excuse me if I didn't invite you, because as the people that went could see, it was to capacity. Couldn't invite everyone. So I'm sorry for that. I would have liked to invite everyone. Finish it out, my brother.
Here is your brother, Simeon, who I know is wise in counsel. Always listen to him, he shall be your father. Judas Maccabeus has been a mighty warrior from his youth. He shall command the army for you and fight the battle against the people. You shall rally around you all who observe the law and avenge the wrong done to your people. Pay back the Gentiles in full and obey the commands of the Lord. He
didn't tell them, run away and run right go into the caves. He said, pay each and every one of them rascals for everything they did to your people.
That's right.
On his deathbed, he could have said, make sure my posterity lives on. He didn't tell them that. He said, make sure you pay each and every one of them scoundrels what they avenge the blood of your brothers. That's right. Sometimes you got to do that. Sometimes you got to do that. Let's see, Yaakov today. Yaakov was scared, but Simeon and Levi said, sometimes, like, you get older and you lose touch with the streets, and your son's got to tell you, hey, Abba, we can't let him slide with that. Yeah. And you didn't see Yaakov after they told him, so he's supposed to deal with our sister as a harlot? Yeah. It was Zehu. Yaakov ain't say anything else. Because Yaakov had a point. He said, I made a deal with these people, right? And now I'm going to look odious in the midst of all these people around us. He said, so you were supposed to deal with our sister as a harlot? And there was Zehu. He understood that. Sometimes that's how life goes. Sometimes your children, they get older and say, nah, Abba, I got this. Your son get older and say, Abba, I got this. I got this. I'm going to handle this. I know exactly what that NIGGA needs. And I'm going to give him what he needs. I'm going to give him what he needs. And you be scared, and they come out on the other side because they trust in God, and they know that it's righteousness. Righteousness always prevails. It said the righteousness is bold as a lion. That's right. Bold. When you got the righteousness on your side, you bold. You don't care. You're going to run up on somebody's chest and you're going to do so much damage to them because you know you got righteousness on your side. Because you know what? Evil cowers away from righteousness all the time. Because you know what? Evil know that they're wrong. Let us go. Finish it up.
Then he blessed them and was gathered to his ancestors. He died in the 146th year and was buried in the tomb of his ancestors at Modin. And all Israel mourned for him with great lamentation. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. I had to touch up a little bit of the Maccabee history. And thanking the Most High God. Actually, Hanukkah falls on Christmas this year. What Hanukkah is not. It's a Israelite Christmas. It's not that. It's a time of rededication of the temple. You want to bring something for your place of worship. You want to put up new curtains. You want to do all that. All that's fine. Don't put this stuff in the kids' minds of giving them gifts and doing all that stuff. We don't need to do that. They don't miss something that they never had. They never had it. They're not going to miss it. So let's keep that in mind. Hallelujah.